Hi everyone, my name is Sarah and I'm an education specialist here at the El Paso Zoo. I'm so excited to take you on a virtual walking tour today of one of our newest exhibits here at the zoo, the Chihuahuan Desert Experience. But first, some background. Chihuahuan Desert Experience opened in November of 2019 after about 2 years of construction. This area of the zoo closed off in late 2017 for this 2.3 acre exhibit to be constructed and built. Now, as we enter through the main entrance of the exhibit, we're surrounded by beautiful native desert plants. These gardens, along with some other gardens that are being updated around the zoo, have actually allowed us to become certified as a botanical garden. So now we're not only just the El Paso Zoo, but the El Paso Zoo and Botanical Garden. Walking through this arroyo type setting, we're not only again surrounded by these beautiful native desert plants, but we're also greeted by this beautiful sculpture by Andy Dufford from Denver of the endangered Mexican wolf. What's so amazing about this sculpture is, of course, its size, its beauty, but upon further and closer inspection, you can actually see a lot of really interesting details, such as carvings of different plants and animals that would also be native to the Chihuahuan Desert. So it's definitely a feature to come in and inspect a little bit closer on your next visit to the zoo. Moving forward, we come up to our large mix exhibit, which is capable of housing many different species, including currently our pronghorn and Bolson tortoises. In the future, we could be adding species to this exhibit, such as turkeys, jackrabbits, and maybe even some more. But what's so impressive is the beautiful mountain that towers above us here. This mountain was actually inspired by Hueco tanks, and it stands at a little over 45 feet tall. Our next stop takes us to our ranch house. This building was actually built with the intention of using it for different programs, maybe private group events. And so it's a nice big area with some small species housed inside. But right outside of the ranch house, we do have our coati exhibit. Now here at the zoo, we do have a male and a female coati. Also, along the outside of our ranch house, we do have smaller exhibits to house different bird species that would be native to our Chihuahuan Desert. Here we do have our Montezuma's quail, which we do have 3 males that live in this exhibit. It usually takes a closer look though to spot them, as sometimes they like to hide down in the corners or even in some of their nest spots. Down to our next exhibit, next to our ranch house, we do have our American Kestrel exhibit, which houses Mary Bobbins, who was actually rescued from the wild. Here at the El Paso Zoo, we do actively participate in rehabilitation of birds of prey that are unable to be released back to the wild. Next up, after crossing the bridge, we come to our big cat area. Here we have two spacious exhibits for different species of big cats. Over on our right-hand side here, even though we have a jaguar in here today, this area was actually built for mountain lions. Recently, earlier this year, the El Paso Zoo did take in two young mountain lions, Franklin and Scout, and oftentimes they can be found moving around or even lazying around this exhibit here. But currently we do have our female jaguar sitting up on that rock, giving us just an idea of how well these cats can move around the exhibit. As we go over to the left-hand side, we have our larger jaguar exhibit. Now again, here at the zoo, we do have a male and a female jaguar. And so luckily for us, in the future, we could see cubs coming from the two of them. But here we have a nice, big, spacious area with lots of different levels for our jaguars to move around. Above us, we have the catwalk where our jaguars can hang out up there to overlook our guests as they make their way through the zoo. There's even a pathway that can allow our jaguars to move up into the mountain to overlook our pronghorn exhibit. And of course, there's the nice big grassy space that gives them plenty of places to lay around and be lazy like most cats are. Behind our jaguar exhibit, we have our small mix exhibit. So we do have many exhibits here that allow for smaller species to survive and to thrive here at the zoo. Here we do have a mix of tortoises and birds. Currently we do have our two burrowing owls hanging out outside. They did actually, what's so exciting, they laid eggs this year, and we have 3 owlets from them. 2 of which are going to be members of the Education Ambassador team, so that they can actually, help to teach our guests and teach the public about these amazing species. Making our way past our small mix exhibit, we come up to one of my favorite spots in the New Chihuahuan Desert area, and that is our Mexican wolf exhibit. Now currently we do just have one female Mexican wolf. Her name is Polly, but the future plans are that she's actually going to move to Arizona, where hopefully she can have a friend out there, and we are going to be getting in a new wolf pack to help to contribute to that critically endangered species, the Mexican gray wolf. But again, check out how beautiful this exhibit is, especially if you're familiar with how our wolf exhibit was in the past. It was that tiered area with plenty of room for our Mexican wolves to move around. But again, looking at this, our wolves have a cave to hide in, a pool to cool off in, plenty of grassy areas, logs, and rocks to help them hide and camouflage. Another great feature of the Chihuahuan Desert exhibit is that this is the perfect place for us to really teach about this little known part of the world. Here we do have our Lobo Vista classroom, where we will in the future be able to hold maybe private group classes, workshops, and even, special tours for our guests. But what makes it so cool is that you are surrounded by our animals on both sides. So here again, we have that view into our Mexican wolf exhibit. And as we turn around, again, passing over the entrance there to the classroom, on the other side, we have our thick-billed parrot exhibit. So again, when you have a class in here, you have these animals as the perfect teaching. Speaking of special programs for our guests, we have a special visitor. So let's head out to this nice, beautiful grassy area where we are actually going to get to meet one of our Education Ambassador animals up close with education specialist Heather Rivera.
I'm Heather Rivera. I'm an education specialist at the El Paso Zoo, and this is Bucky, and she is a 5-year-old Swainson's hawk. She's part of our education collection here at the zoo and an ambassador for her wild counterparts. Now, Bucky does have a very special story, and her story actually is that of a rehab animal here at the zoo. She did come to us from the wild, and she's puffing up right now. I love when she does that, but she did come to us from the wild. And she did come to us with a wing injury. That wing injury did make her unreleasable back into the wild. So our veterinarian was trying to find a home for her. And that home could either be at another facility, another zoo, maybe a wildlife center, just anywhere where she could possibly serve as an ambassador. And so they asked me if I would prepare her for that. They did ask me to just get her ready to being around people, getting ready to be on the gloves and things like that. So I went ahead and started working with her. So I did work with her by getting her on the gear, which is all of this that you see here. She's got some anklets, some jesses, a leash, and then also getting her scale trained. So she does get on a scale daily for us now, getting her crate trained and getting to be on the glove and staying on the glove, and especially being around people, being around any zoo guests. So after I went ahead and did all that with her, it was extremely difficult for me to give her up. So I asked if we could go ahead and keep her here at the zoo, and I was given that approval. And so now she has been part of our education collection for a few years now. It's really important to be able to have a bird like Bucky as an ambassador because she is the representative of animals that you would find here in the Chihuahuan Desert. So you can find Swainson's hawks here. They are a migratory bird, so we're not going to see them all year round because they will fly to South America during parts of the year. And in South America, they are known as the grasshopper hawk because they love to eat those grasshoppers. But here in the Chihuahuan Desert, they can eat not only grasshoppers, they can eat other types of insects. They can also eat mammals, maybe even other birds. For instance, here at the zoo, Bucky does eat rats and mice. She also will eat quail. But on occasion, I have given her rabbit, and she has turned out to be a very picky eater, so isn't craziest about rabbit. So we try not to give it to her that often because she just ends up leaving it. So she likes to waste her food as well. She does have a very unique personality. I like to call her a diva because Bucky does actually like to kind of be a judge of fashion and a judge of shoes and things like that. You've already probably seen Sarah or heard her throughout this program, and so Bucky is very judgmental of Sarah's shoes. And Sarah has some nice looking shoes, but they're not to Bucky's liking. So it's really funny to be able to see that personality come out in our animals because you really get to work with them in so many special ways that you get to see what each bird is like and how you should or shouldn't work with an animal. And that's always really important when you do work with an ambassador, that you have to get to know them so well, to know what to do with them, what not to do with them, how not to stress them out too much, and also when they've reached their limit. So Bucky does give me an indicator when she's done with the program, and that's when we end it. But having her here to be able to talk to our zoo guests is really important for us because we want to teach people about raptors all over the world, but also raptors here that you would find in El Paso. And so I always recommend to everybody to always look up to the skies because that's where you can see all of these beautiful birds of prey. And birds of prey are extremely important for the Chihuahuan Desert, for any kind of habitat that they live in, because of the population control that they are able to create, because they're able to eat a lot of different types of animals, and so they're able to eat some things that people might even consider pests. So, you know, disease, anything like that that can be carried maybe by rodents and all that, well, you have your birds of prey that are able to control that, and that's extremely important to keeping that balance in that ecosystem, in that habitat. And so Bucky is just one of many, many types of birds of prey that you can find here in the El Paso area. She's got a little bit of a bug walking around on her. Now I see Sarah focusing in on her, and you can see Bucky's mouth is wide open. She is panting. So they do pant just like dogs, and I'm gonna give her some water, although she seemed to be offended by the water bottle now. But let me give her some water there, and she's drinking some water. And so I do like to keep her hydrated, and it's okay. There we go. That is called a bait. And so that just happens when they fly off the glove. On occasion, she will bait, whether it is because something bothers her. I think she just didn't like the little bugs that were flying around her. But she is just an amazing animal to work with. She is what you would call the light morph of the Swainson's hawk. And they do have this dark bib here. You will see Swainson's hawks that also actually have that whole dark coloring. And that's going to be your dark morph. But this is a light morph with that bib there. And this is a bird that, you can see up in the skies. They do migrate in the thousands to South America, and just a really, really great ambassador for her wild counterparts. I love working with her. She's a lot of fun, and every day that I work with her, even though I've been working her for a few years already, I still learn something new about her. She's always making me laugh. just, you know, see what Sarah's fashion choices are for the day and see if she like approves or not. So maybe we should get her own fashion talk show and she can judge people that way. But she's so much fun to work with, and I hope that when the zoo opens up again that you all come visit her and the other birds of prey that we work with, because we have other birds of prey here for our education department. And also you can walk around our beautiful Chihuahuan exhibit and see all the animals that do call the Chihuahuan Desert home.
This one is a little bit of a noisy feature here at the zoo, but it's so important so that people can learn about one of those potential hazards when you're out hiking, maybe out in the mountains, and that's flash floods. Our final stop gives us a little bit of shade and some relief from that hot summer sun. Here we have our Prairie Dog exhibit. We have a set of 12 prairie dogs that came into the zoo, and since then they've actually had a few babies here at the zoo. But what's so exciting about this exhibit is it gives our guests an excellent way to get up close once those prairie dogs get a little bit more comfortable with visitors. We have those nice tunnels, those pop-up bubbles as you might call them, where our guests can actually pop their heads up to get that closer look inside the exhibit. Well, that concludes our virtual walking tour of our Chihuahuan Desert experience. I hope you all enjoyed learning a little bit more about the exhibits as well as about our animals, and we can't wait to see you all back here at the El Paso Zoo. Thanks, everyone.